This podcast is brought to you by the Alien Soda Company, your connection to pop culture and paranormal-themed merch. AlienSodaCompany.shop for all things out of this world.
All right, on this episode of the Paranormal Mind Podcast, we are going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. It's the disappearance of Diana Rojas. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Paranormal Mind Podcast.
What's up, everybody? And I don't know where the air horn is. There it is. Listen, I get so many comments and messages on Facebook. They're like, please, we need the air horn.
You know why they say that? Because they see the annoyance that it brings me.
That's probably true.
They see the annoyance. But you know what's crazier is we have a producer in the building
we do.
today. And it's your wife who knows all about the annoyance that you bring.
Yep, we have my wife, Mandy Purvis, in the studio today, and she has her own podcast called The Incoherent Fangirl.
That's what I was saying. Like, she's more of a pro than we are, I think. Like, she has some, New York Times bestsellers and all that stuff.
Mandy, how many of those have y'all had this year now?
Oh, I don't know. I know that we've had 3 that were on our podcast, and then within like a week or two became New York Times bestsellers.
Oh, so is it because they were on your podcast?
I mean,
that's what they've been telling them.
Because of their hard work and their dedication, but we didn't hurt you. I manifest, okay? I manifest.
So hopefully we'll get millions of downloads after her appearing on our podcast episodes.
Yep. So selfless plug, but go check out The Incoherent Fangirl if you are a fan of literature.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I've listened to it. Very well done. I like the banter back and forth.
Yeah, they're a trip.
Because it reminds me of
me and
us a little bit. Yeah. But they're a lot more intelligent than we are. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. They're more intelligent than we are.
On The Incoherent Fangirl, we would call this an intruder alert.
See, they've got little sayings and all that stuff, and all we've got is air horns.
That's all you need.
Yeah, we need to step it up a lot. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. Like I said, we really appreciate y'all listening and tuning in. I think this is episode 31 now.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to put labels on it because sometimes we release out of sequence, but it's amazing to me that we started in March?
Yeah.
And we're getting close to, we've been uploading every week since March.
Yep. I know me and you were talking. I think we're going to try and push out 40 episodes for the year, which is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's nearly every week. I think we'll end up messing 2 or 3 weeks out of that, but you're getting closer to the holidays at that point. So yeah, we'll do some other cool things instead.
Yeah. So we've been working hard, and sometimes it's challenging and it presents challenges, but we've been working hard for you guys. So we appreciate y'all hanging in with us and supporting the podcast and supporting everything we do. We wouldn't be able to do all this stuff if it wasn't for y'all. So we appreciate it very much.
Yeah. We had somebody on Patreon messaged us and was like, "No, what's up, everybody, for Friday?" I was like, "No, unfortunately, we couldn't make it happen. But we're back." I told him we'd be pushing out some more.
Yeah, and we've got another producer in the building too.
The boss is here.
Yeah,
y'all.
We got little Georgie.
Yeah, Georgie's running around in there.
Yeah, little George Bailey,
the show dog for
so
everybody.
We've been recording out of my house here for the last couple of batches, mainly because we are in a transition from one studio to an even bigger studio
which is exciting.
Yeah, it's
super exciting.
Thanks to the Monkey's Paw and Tony Doolin. But that should be done this month, and so hopefully soon you guys will get to see that one as well.
Yeah, that's a cool place. Just the advancements that they're doing in the new location.
Oh man,
it's cool. The old location was really cool too. I mean, just the ambiance of everything and just the atmosphere was amazing. So I know that this new place is going to be killer.
We were really humbled that he came to us and asked us, "Hey, do you want to use this room as a creative creator studio. I was like, shoot, yeah. And
and you know, the current place we're at, the Capricorn, has been amazing to us too. But you know, the new place would be more room, which,
and it really feels like us too,
right? Yeah, it's got more of a creepy
a little spooky vibe. Yeah.
So I think yeah, it is more us, but it's more room too, and we have some ideas for like guests and stuff that'll be
I can't
showing
wait,
up
man.
in the future.
Can't wait.
But anyway, I want to talk about the disappearance of Diana Rojas on this episode of the podcast, and just a little backstory on this. Diana was a really close friend of my mother's. We were in California. We were stationed in Fort Irwin, California, and my mom did this women's Bible study group, and it was called PWOC. So it's Protestants Women of the Chapel or something like that. Is what it's called. And they would have like weekly meetings and get-togethers, and it was kind of like a sisterhood of sorts. Like it was women that got together and, you know, studied the Bible and did other functions and stuff. And this is where she met Diana. And Diana was a young woman, had a young kid and a husband at the time. And I remember being at one of the functions, and she was so sweet, really sweet lady. But her husband that was there was very offstandish and kind of
interesting,
kind of just intimidating, you know. But you know, I was around a lot of those types of people because in the military you have these really staunch, like really intimidating guys anyway that wouldn't really say much. They're very straight and to the point.
Right.
But anyway, Diana ended up missing after a while, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So in October 2000, Diana Rojas, a radiant and doting 27-year-old mother, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a grieving family. Residing in an apartment in Acrefield Avenue in Long Beach, Los Angeles County, Diana's sudden and unexplained disappearance turned her family's world upside down. So here's a little bit of a profile for people, especially if you're listening to the podcast, a little bit of information for her. She was born January 19th, 1973. She was Filipino, Hispanic, 5'2", and she weighed between 115 to 127 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She had brown hair, about medium length, brown eyes, and then she had some distinguishing marks I'm going to talk about a little bit too. She had acne scarring on her back and a mole between her shoulder blades.
Okay.
She had nicknamed Diana. She could have gone by Diana Cortez as well, which was her name before she got married.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, where'd she get that name from?
Yeah.
Her last name.
She was last seen wearing a pink shirt with spaghetti straps, blue sweatpants with a Winnie the Pooh logo, and a blue zip-up jacket with a medical insignia. And she wore a ring on her left hand. So we're going to talk about it just a little bit, the events kind of leading up to it, and then afterwards. All right. So Diana worked at His Nesting Place, which was the name of the church that she was working at. It was a church and shelter dedicated to helping abused women, managed by a pastor, Al Howard, and his wife, Judy. During this tumultuous time in her life, she was undergoing a contentious divorce with her estranged husband, Americo Rojas, living in the same apartment complex, so they lived across from each other. On October 19th, Diana dutifully dropped off their 2-year-old daughter, Mercedes, at his residence for a court-ordered visitation. Upon her return, she spent time with her boyfriend, David Howard, who was the pastor's son. David left her residence in the early hours of October 20th. I believe they said around midnight. He said around midnight, 12:15, something like that. He left her place. He recalled Diana had fallen asleep on the sofa. Alarm bells rang when Diana uncharacteristically missed work the next day and failed to pick up her daughter, which, if anybody knew Diana at all, she loved her daughter.
That didn't happen.
And that never happened. That was so out of character for her. So the fact that she didn't pick up her daughter was one of the first red flags.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Judy Howard described Diana as a gentle soul who had confided in her about the fear she felt concerning her estranged husband, even revealing past violent incidents that led Diana to obtain a restraining order against him. So he was pretty abusive. Again, very intimidating. That was just his nature.
Right.
He had done some things that led her to take action because she was fearful for her life and her daughter's life.
Gotcha.
Adding to all of this, Diana's 1992 black Nissan pickup truck registered to Americo was nowhere to be found.
Okay.
The vehicle, adorned with Texas license plate BY3242, had the driver's side door lock and radio missing. The investigation into Diana's apartment unveiled disturbing signs but yielded no substantial leads. The consensus amongst authorities and close ones was that Diana wouldn't leave willingly, and suspicions of foul play arose. Both the estranged husband and boyfriend cooperated, with neither being considered prime suspects. But we'll talk about that more later because
It's always the husband.
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that more later because once I talk about more of the husband's background,
paint a certain picture.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I have about all of this.
I gotcha.
All right. Okay. So, however, a series of chilling anonymous tips over the years deepen the mystery. In 2014, a tip led authorities to the Howard's church, insinuating she might be buried there. Another in 2016 hinted at a burial site near Ridgecrest, California. These claims, though rigorously pursued using advanced forensic technology, brought no tangible results. All right. So, Detective Mark Biggle, I believe his name is, remained hopeful, believing Diana's remains might still be found in the Mojave Desert. Yet, for Diana's family, including her brother Solomon, the pain lingers. Solomon stated, "We move forward each day, but always hope for closure, always searching for answers." The case of Diana Rojas is a haunting reminder of many unsolved mysteries. And we talk about this quite a bit. But let me talk about her husband for a minute.
Okay.
So Americo, like I mentioned before, he was in the armed forces and they were stationed in Fort Irwin, California. And here's his MO, which is crazy. Like his job was operating heavy machinery and different machinery that would do excavations and stuff.
Oh, really?
So that was his primary job. So here's my question with all of this, okay? We have his background and we have the abuse, the allegations from Diana.
That was going on.
Right. But there were some more things that was kind of weird. So a friend of Americo's said that he was talking to Americo one time and Americo said, "Oh, they'll never find her." And he was joking about it. Like they'll never find her or where she is. The fact that the truck is missing with her, here's the thing about that. There have been no traffic stops. There have been absolutely zero signs of even spotting the vehicle since her disappearance at all. There's been no trace of this Nissan pickup truck at
Just
all.
gone.
My question is, since he had experience with the machinery and all of that stuff, and because they worked in the desert,
For sure.
did he bury her and the truck?
Well, there are just tons and tons of cases out that way specifically where, missing people go, because they bury them out in the desert or they find an old mine or something and put them in there and you'll never find them.
Yeah. So in 2016, there was an anonymous tip from a male that said, hey, because at this point they had figured she's missing. They couldn't confirm that she was deceased. There was an anonymous tip from a male that said she's in fact dead and you can find her in the desert, and gave precise coordinates. The detective at the time that was working the case worked with this nonprofit group that kind of helped in regards to satellite imagery. And let me find the name of that. Hold on one second.
I'm thinking that it had to be the husband, because if you're a decent, is it her husband or her ex-husband?
Now ex. They went through a divorce.
Even if it's your ex, if you're a decent person, you're not, and they're presumed dead, you're not going to make a joke about how they'll never find her. Like you're still going to be devastated. Even if the relationship didn't work out, you're still, you don't want them dead.
And what's interesting about these type of cases too, and people don't know this, but Shane and I we tend to dip our feet in the true crime stuff. We help try to develop shows that are in the true crime space. We have developed one show idea, and we're probably going to be working on another one here soon. What we always tend to find is that it's always the simplest solution to who did it, right? So it's likely her husband.
I've listened to enough murder podcasts and shows, and it always, no offense to the husbands in the room, but it's always the husband. It's always
us.
The husband.
Well,
most of the time,
not
glaring
always.
majority, it's the husband.
Yeah. So this third party is called NecroSearch, and basically what they do is they'll look up satellite imagery, and they can tell if the surrounding area had been disturbed at any point, if there were any spots that didn't look the same from a previous time to then.
Gotcha.
That's a cool thing.
Right. It's very cool.
Really cool.
It is very cool. So whenever they got the anonymous tip that, hey, there's some precise coordinates, they said that she's buried out here.
Right.
They went out there and they saw some anomalies.
Interesting.
That was really interesting. That was very close to the anonymous tip coordinates. So they went out there, they took dogs and all that stuff to go and check it out. And they dug up these areas and nothing. They didn't find her. They didn't find the truck.
You know what's interesting? I bet they wouldn't have buried her in the truck in the same place, first off. Second off, you wonder if maybe the guy came and dug her back up.
Well, it's possible, but here's the thing. Having that type of job, you will have to have clearance to take those vehicles out. So they have what they call a motor pool.
Yep, that's
right. So you
right.
have to check in the trucks, clean it, do all that stuff,
that's
and
right.
you have to like check them out.
And you probably have a mileage tracker.
Right. There's mileage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But this was what, in 2000, so maybe the tracking wasn't as good. But I remember my stepdad worked in a motor pool. He drove the large trucks and stuff, and there was there's a gate that they close and open. Yeah. They keep them. They have to check them in, check out the equipment. It's under close tabs. So for him to be able to do something like that, I would think it'd be very difficult.
And he worked on a military base, right?
Yeah,
is that right?
Fort Irwin.
Yeah. So
but see, at the time of her disappearance, he had gotten out of the military.
I don't think he could have gotten it from them. He would have had to go and rent something, or
but that would be on record.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and that would look even more suspicious. Like you rented heavy equipment and her truck is gone.
Right.
And you at least hope that they've checked that already. Yeah.
Well, you would hope so. Yeah. But we've seen cases in the past where they brush stuff under the rug, all of this stuff.
Simple things that matter a lot.
And my heart really goes out to her daughter, Mercedes, because 2 years old. I mean, she's not going to remember her mother. But now, Mercedes is an adult.
Yeah.
She was raised by Americo, her dad, right? And he cut off all ties with the mother side of the family.
Oh, that's awful.
So that's all too familiar.
Right. So there's a lot of questions with this. And again, we're not going into complete detail, but it's close to my heart because my mother was close to her.
Right.
And it's just strange to me how things like this can happen. There could be all of these clues and then they're missing. I mean, how many missing persons cases have we even studied?
Oh, I know.
Where they have never found their body. They have never found a closure. They've never had closure for the families. There's daughters and sons and stuff that go without seeing their parent. I mean,
I don't want to give into like the premise of what the recent development that we did was, but it was all about how it is a bit easier than you think it would be to go and get new information. It's just the people that they're willing to talk to.
This reminds me a lot of the Susan Powell case where do you remember that where the husband said, we went out, it was like a snowstorm or something, or it was really cold. We went out camping, but the boys and I came home and then he ended up blowing up the house with the kids inside.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I don't know that they've ever found anything to do with Susan.
We went out to film that sizzle reel and it's a cold case even today. And we go out there and the guy's like,
we know exactly who it is. And right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's a couple of small town guys.
Exactly.
That they just opened up quickly because it was just one of those things.
And they I think it's so natural within their community to talk about who did it.
And y'all sound Southern, so they're like, oh,
but as soon
as
as
one of ours. This is one of ours. Yeah.
As soon as I brought up the fact that it was still a cold case, the guy backtracked so quick. It was like deer in the headlights.
Well, it looked like he saw a ghost. He's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I opened my mouth without really thinking.
But that tells you how loose their mouths are about this stuff.
And that's how I know that anybody that could be listening right now, there could be somebody out there that knows the truth and they haven't said anything. Here's another thing that could be of significance. So they gave exact coordinates of where she was buried in the desert and said that she was gone. What if they now this desert, if you've ever been out there, I mean, it's freaking vast.
Right.
Okay. So maybe they just missed it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were looking for the truck along with her and maybe they missed her completely. Just even if you miss it by
true. I mean, you
half
can miss
a mile.
That is true, man.
Even if you miss it.
Yeah.
And what were the anomalies too?
The anomalies were that it was disturbed. You could tell from satellite imagery that it looked different from 6 months ago or a year ago.
What caused them is what I'm saying.
What caused, or
if she's not there, and
or whoever it was, could they have trying to been throw it off? God, I can't even speak.
Yeah.
I can't even speak. Throw off the scent. But here's the thing: this tip was years later, so it's like it was a cold case. Then why would you
bring it up
unless you want it? Unless you want that closure, unless you were told something and you were told wrong information too,
or unless you're Americo and you some of the serial killers get off on their notoriety and you're not going to catch me. So I wonder if he knows he did it and
trying to clear his conscience.
But just to stir it back up.
But why would you do that, especially if you have a daughter that you raised?
People are crazy.
I know. I mean, and if you are crazy enough to carry out a crime like that, but again, these are all alleged. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not saying that Americo
we have to
did
be
it.
very careful with that. Yeah,
We're not saying he did it. They found out later that Americo was trying to take out a $300,000 life insurance policy after she had gone missing.
So I have a thought that maybe whoever did it probably slipped up and told a friend who probably brought in the tip, right? But
why would this happen? So you're talking about years later they slipped up and said something?
They just got complacent. They got lazy, or maybe more free-willing to talk about it. Said something to their friend, maybe even brought them out to that spot, which is how the guy knew where the coordinates was, or the person that called in the tip.
I'm not going out with somebody who says that
why
they
would,
can,
well, I mean,
go out in the desert
why
with you?
why would you do that? Number one.
I mean, that's how it goes, right? Is they become so you can't bottle that up forever. So within your own community, you do start telling tidbits of things, and you put a whole story together, and then somebody eventually just slips up and it's the wrong thing,
Well, and it is a possibility too that the anonymous tip was trying to clear conscience.
And that's what I'm saying.
They just slipped up and didn't find her.
Whoever gave the tip at least probably thought that what he or she was saying was true.
And here's the thing that I think the tip is of significance again, is because they gave exact coordinates, and then there was anomalies in the area that the coordinates were given. So, I mean,
like you were saying, though, they could genuinely be like 30 feet off and not find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after a while, like dogs wouldn't pick up any scent. Like there's after that time had elapsed, the dogs are not going to be able to pick up that scent.
Especially out there, because the wind would carry it God knows where.
I think the most sinister thing to me is the idea that if it was the husband that killed her, her murderer is raising her child. That is so chilling.
Raised. So think about it. She's an adult.
She's an adult now, but he raised her child. That is like sends shivers up and down my spine.
And what's more chilling about that is the allegations of abuse on Diana's part. So Diana at one time said that he had even broken her arm through a dispute and things like that.
And was the child raised in that?
Well, because there was in her restraining order, he would say, hug me, kiss me, like be very aggressive with her. And at one point, like I said, broke her arm.
Oh my gosh.
So if those allegations are true, I can't even imagine what Mercedes endured, which is sad. And I hope that that's not the case. And I hope that she was raised,
especially being cut off from her mother's entire family. So you got no grandparents on that side, no one to tell you that she loved you, no one to tell you what a great person she was. Oh, that's awful.
It's sad. And I remember Diana, like I said, very sweet woman. Everybody loved her. I know whenever I was at a meeting and like it was like a get together and we were all eating and stuff. And like I said, Americo came in, and this is just from my judgment being a kid. He would look at you. There was no like smile on his face, just very, very stern looking all the time. Looked like he was pissed off all the time.
Interesting.
Like, that's just how his demeanor was. Another thing, like whenever they went and they said all the kind of the disturbing scene of her apartment, but nothing yielded results. Well, there was blood stains on the sofa. Okay. There was like little droplets of blood. And then there was a bandana, the investigators said, that seemed to be soaked in urine.
What?
That was in her apartment, but they said that there was no signs of forced entry or anything like that. So they just kind of shrugged it off like, okay, we're not going to investigate this further. Like, are you kidding me? There's a bandana soaked in urine, and then there's droplets of blood.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't strike you as odd,
I would be fixated on it, and like that, it has to mean something.
I mean, on one hand, everyone's house has blood somewhere. You've nicked your finger and you shake your hand and there's blood splatter that would show up in a UV light or whatever. But I'm more freaked out by the urine soaked bandana. Like, we can't test whose that is. Can you find out whose?
I mean, you hope they've done some kind of
This was years ago, though,
analysis,
I guess.
Well, I think you could do that if it's on file. Like,
that's true.
If there's if there's nothing on file, then it's not going to lead you anywhere.
And if they disturb it.
But you could also make
done.
someone pee in a thing. You're a person of interest. We need a urine sample.
Shane's not wrong. Like, that's how cases go like wonky, because somebody on site makes the decision that it's unimportant, and it only takes that one person to
My great aunt lives in in the murder house in St. Augustine, and a woman in the 60s, I think it was the 60s, was sitting on her porch reading the mail where she got like hacked to death, and the police came and literally took a water hose and
washed
rinsed
it all
the
off.
porch of all of the blood. Any evidence was gone. So things can get botched.
That is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
That was the police.
and we can't ignore the fact that her boyfriend at the time, which was the pastor's son, he was the last person that saw her alive. He and Americo both cooperated with authorities. They seemed to have alibis. Americo said that he was with his sister with Mercedes. So he was with his daughter and his sister at her house at the time that this disappearance supposedly happened. But then over time, there was inconsistencies.
Of course there were.
There were inconsistencies with his alibi.
I feel like that's a very
red
weak
flag
alibi too. Your sister,
right?
I don't know, man. Like, this case has baffled me. I remember years ago when my mom told me that she was missing. She felt right away that the ex-husband had something to do with it, because she knew Diana well. She knew that they would get into arguments quite a bit. And again, this was a close-knit group of women.
Right. Yeah.
That they talked.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So they knew that she was going through struggles and going through things.
And no sign of forced entry doesn't really have to mean anything. Even if she was trying to get a restraining order, that's still the father of her child.
Right.
He could have shown up and been like,
if it was someone she knows,
like, hey, let's just talk about this. And so she's like, fine, I've been married to this man. He's the father of my child.
Right.
I don't think he would harm me.
Yeah. Well,
kill me.
And he was paying for her apartment too. So he was paying he was paying for hers,
so he
and
could have had a key.
And he was staying with his sister, which was right across the courtyard.
So
it was like right in the same vicinity of
she
her
could have
apartment.
Said, yeah, come in, we'll talk.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
I'm exhausted. We'll just sit here and talk and duke this out.
Right. So, but the only a lot of people are saying, well, she could have just dipped out and said, she was done with it all. But
she leave her kid?
Yeah. If anybody knew her again, she would never leave her child. She loved her child. She was fighting for full custody
of her
during
child.
all of this.
Oh,
yeah. And on top of that, even on relationships that don't have abuse, most mothers are not just going to drive away without their child.
Right.
But knowing that he was abusive towards her, I don't think she was going to leave her child with this man who
and women like you were saying too, like statistically 9 times out of 10 they're not going to go missing just because I'm going to go start a new life.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally there's other circumstances that
and normally their children are going to go missing too if they do something like witness protection. The children.
I mean, if you're fighting for full custody while all of this is going on, why would you leave?
Yeah.
Right.
Why would you leave your daughter, the one that you're fighting for? Right. And she wasn't rich either. We gotta consider this. She wasn't rich. She was working multiple jobs to try to pay for lawyers to fight this custody battle. There's no reason why she would just up and vanish like
all of that.
Anyway, this is a case that I wanted to highlight a little bit. I know I've talked to you in the past about it because we've been doing true crime related stuff along with the paranormal stuff. And this was on our radar, but because of circumstances and how we needed to get something filmed quickly, we focused on your uncle, which is a case that another thing that we probably need to talk about in the future, but we focused on that one. But these cases really
it was definitely on our list. It was on our list.
It's been on our radar for quite a while, and hopefully we can get some resolution toward it, because I think the main thing is closure for the family.
The unfortunate part, man, is like we produce the true crime stuff in a hope that it gets picked up, not because we want a TV show necessarily, but also because we know it takes funding, and we know that we could probably, if we could do something about it, bring it back and put it in a national or international light.
Well, it's not just that, but we have, like, this case is close to home for me.
Right.
Your case with your uncle is close to home for you.
And we know how it fractures families and fractures friendships and stuff like that. I mean, even today for me, and that's what's so fascinating about it, is that one thing is probably fractured her daughter's whole. Effect. Yeah, it's a butterfly effect for sure.
Yeah. And there's so many people that just need the closure. They need to know for sure something happened. I mean, just think about Diana's family.
Yeah, her mother likely has either lived or possibly died not knowing what happened to her
and
child.
Her brother, like she had a pretty supportive family that loved her, and no answers.
Have nothing, and
nothing.
They live and die not knowing. That's so
it's awful,
terrifying.
Well, and then they reopened the wound in 2016, saying, "Okay, she's dead, and here's where she's buried."
Her. And at least you would have gotten that closure.
Right. So they're like, again, at this point, only thing they can assume is she's missing. Hopefully we can find her.
Right.
Then there's a tip that comes in saying, oh, no, she's dead. And this is where she's buried. They go out there to search for her and they don't find her. So now
is she dead?
They're wondering, is she dead? Is she alive? Is this just a to throw us off?
It was probably almost a sense of relief that they might have a body to bury, but they don't even have that.
Yeah, they don't have anything. And again, what completely fascinates me is there's no sign of the truck. There's no like traffic stops, like I said.
Yeah.
There's nothing since that time, no trace whatsoever at all.
It's wild, man.
They have never found the truck, never seen the truck again, which leads me to believe whatever happened, like especially if it's in the desert area. So they were in Long Beach whenever she disappeared. So the Long Beach Police Department has the information about the case and everything. So they reopened the case in 2016. Again, no results. I'm thinking the truck had to be buried, disposed of in some way. There has to be.
Yeah.
Or sunk in a lake.
Right. But again, it's
the
Long
desert.
Beach. It's Long Beach. Yeah, there's
what would you have done with it? You would have to travel a long ways to just dispose of it.
And then how do you get back? Did you have an accomplice?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of questions. And I know there was a Facebook group, and I can't remember the name, but there was a Facebook group that was open for a while that was kind of saying, hey, if you have any anonymous tips, contact us. And it grew a little bit, but there was
nothing substantial.
No traction that would lead to anything. But I do hope that there's somebody out there that's listening.
Yeah, for sure.
That knows something that you can contact us.
Yeah.
Contact us, let us know. I mean, it could be anonymous, whatever. Also, you can contact the Long Beach Police Department. You can what's their phone number? Let me get their phone number. It's 562-435-6711. You can contact them if you don't want to contact us with any information. And hopefully, again, there's some closure for Diana's family.
Yeah.
Because we do this paranormal stuff too. So we do the true crime, but we do the paranormal stuff too. And it's almost like, just like with the fascination that I've had with it for as long as I have, it's almost like she's crying out.
Yeah.
Wanting somebody to
you would think
resolve this in some way. There's got to be some sort of vindication for whatever happened to her and closure on her parents' part. Yeah. See, I can't even talk today. But again, Mercedes is not even going to remember her mother. But again, she had to grow up without a mother. Also, with the fact that my mother's been missing all this time. Is she dead? Did she just leave me? Did she just disappear?
Awful, man.
So that could be in Mercedes' mind right now.
Think about how restless her mother's soul has to be. No one knows what happened to you. You haven't gotten any kind of proper burial.
Right.
You're just possibly dumped somewhere. Like, how do you rest? Your soul can't rest.
And you weren't ever able to say goodbye to your daughter.
Right.
The one that you loved the most. That was the one that she was fighting for to have full time, because at the time I believe they had joint custody and she was fighting for full custody because she was fearful for her life. So she was wanting better for her daughter, and then the fact that she disappears in the middle of the night and her daughter wasn't even with her.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So she was hanging out with her boyfriend at the time, and then he left. She fell asleep on the sofa. So she, as far as we know, she had never seen Mercedes ever again.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking. Yeah, we call the show The Paranormal Mind, but we talk about all things strange and unusual, missing persons, stuff, unexplained or unsolved mysteries, things like that. We talk about all of this stuff. But whenever there's cases like this that hit close to home, we want to highlight it.
Yeah, for sure.
In the hopes that somebody hears it and can help bring some sort of resolution.
Yep.
But anyway, that's the case, disappearance of Diana Rojas. Please, if you have any information, reach out to us. Reach out to the phone number that I said earlier. Again, that's 562-435-6711. That's the Long Beach Police Department with any information at all. And thank you for listening to the Paranormal Mind Podcast. If you would like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/searchersbelieve. We give away things every month. We have a video podcast. So if you're listening to the audio, we have a video podcast where you can see us be ridiculous
goobers
instead of just hearing us. And you can join in on that. We also have events that we do quite a bit. We've been busy this year and probably going to be
I was
much
thinking,
busier next year.
All the states that we've traveled just as searchers, it's been a lot this year.
It's been a lot. The podcast has been going well. Very thankful, very humbled that we're able to do stuff like this. So if you want to support us, please continue listening and supporting that way. You can share with your friends.
If you share it to a friend and then they share it to a friend, have no idea how far that goes.
It's a domino effect. You could go to searchersbelieve.com for all of information of what we're doing. And we got some cool stuff there that you can purchase if you want to help support what we're doing. And again, we have a sponsor, Alien Soda Company. So aliensodacompany.shop. You can go there and get all kinds of cool, out of this world, weird
they got some
UFO,
killer clown stuff out there right now. I'll be making a post about that soon.
Yeah, so you can go and check out the merch there. They support us and we really appreciate them. And until the next episode, Searchers out.
See ya.